The following program contains graphic material, including offensive language. Viewer discretion is advised.
Science fiction, the great teacher, the great inspiration. It helps us see the endless possibilities of life. So let's be inspired together.
We are all explorers, driven to know what's over the horizon, what's beyond our own shores.
Sending out interceptors. We have taken them completely by surprise.
Hello everybody, welcome to a new episode of Trick or Critique. I'm Commodore Jeff. Nice to see everybody here. Try and multitask here while I do this episode because I'm a little bit late here on recording this. I had things to do, plus the cat was driving me up the wall. So finally get a break to sit down here for about 5 minutes and work on a model here that I bought. And so that's what I'm doing right now as I talk to you, because I want to do a review of a movie that I watched last night called Moonfall. It's a new movie. It was released this year, and it's now, I guess it's on DVD now. I guess you can watch it. I watched it on HBO Plus, HBO Minus, whatever the hell they call it. And so I watch it. It's like 2 hours and 10 or 15 minutes long. Okay, it's, but it doesn't feel like 2 hours and 15 minutes because there's so much going on in the movie. Okay, now just in case I didn't mention it here, there's probably going to be some spoilers in this if you haven't seen it already, so you may want to not watch it if you haven't seen it, or whatever. It's up to you. Personally, I don't really care about spoilers whenever I'm when I want to watch a movie. I'm going to watch it anyway. It doesn't matter if the spoilers are there or not. So anyway, it's got pretty good, decent actors in it, and the movie has a lot of familiar themes in it that we've seen in various different science fiction movies and TV shows. If you watched and enjoyed Independence Day and Independence Day, the second film, and you liked watching the Day After Tomorrow, or any of these films that were made by the same guy, okay, because he made Moonfall, then you'll like this one too. Okay, a lot of destruction, lots of earth-destroying things going on there. Okay, and it's got it's a, like I said, it's the movie is a derivative of a lot of different science fiction stories, but they put it together into something interesting. Okay, that's really haven't been told before, and I think it's it's predictable in some spots, and it'll kind of surprise you a little bit in others. Okay, some things will seem familiar in it, but if you just sit through it and watch it from beginning to end, I think you'll walk away thinking, it wasn't a bad film. Okay, I know it didn't get a very big, good review, rating, because You know, people, when they see something like that and it's a teaser, they expect it to be, oh, this is going to be all action. It's going to be, you know, they don't really take time to think about, you know, what they're showing you is just all the action scenes in a trailer. That's to tease you to go into the watch the film. Okay, well, that's what they did with Moonfall. They didn't give you a lot of story, because in this movie there is a lot of story. Okay, and somehow I get the feeling that there might be a sequel to this film. I don't know. It all depends on how well it does. If it, I don't know. If it didn't do that well, but so it might still be up in the air whether or not they want to do a part 2 to this thing or not, because it's that kind of a story where it ends sort of leaving a door cracked, you know, a little bit to another chapter in this thing. Anyway, what basically is going on here is that humanity finds out during the course of its space program during the 60s and 70s that there's something not right with the moon, okay? And they never told anybody about it, kept it a secret for decades. Well, we fast forward to today, and you know, now now the moon is really doing some weird shit, and everybody's kind of panicking because its orbit appears to be decaying, and they figure, you know, it gets too damn close, it's going to start causing some ecological upheaval here on the Earth, which of course it would, right? So, but you know, there's a character in the movie who seems to understand more about this than most of the NASA scientists do, you know, and as always, right? And so they basically what they figure out is that the moon is hollow, okay, by the way it moves and stuff like that. That's not doing this what it should be doing. There's something not right about it, and they figure that if it's hollow, then it was obviously a construct of, you know, some other species, probably not human, you know, or some alien species that built it. So in order to figure out, you know, or maybe correct the problem of the moon heading towards the Earth, they have to send somebody up there to go in there to find out what the hell that thing, what's going on in the thing. So they go up there and confronted by this weird, I don't know, we call it liquid kind of thing that's floating around out there that really doesn't like people and tries to kill everybody that comes near it. And they try to avoid contact with that, and they do, and then they eventually go into the moon itself, and they're flying deep into the moon, and they finally come into the guts of the moon, which is basically this great big gyroscope kind of thing spinning around, rings and things like that. And it has a white dwarf star inside of it that powers the whole goddamn thing, okay? So it's basically like the Dyson sphere, you know, from Star Trek The Next Generation, you know, when we saw that. It's kind of like that, but on a much smaller scale, okay? So this nasty liquid thing that's floating around, and the moon is chasing them, and the spaceship they're in gets pulled inside of a hangar bay, and the doors close, and the thing is stuck outside trying to get in there, and they can't. But something wanted them to come in, you know. Apparently there's another entity in there that wants them to come inside, you know, the operations of the moon. So they get in there, and they find out that there's essentially another AI kind of thing in there, okay? Because the thing outside, this ugly liquid thing is an AI version of an ancient time when humanity once was at the cusp of being able to dominate the universe, okay? A long time ago, okay? This is kind of where the Battlestar Galactica thing comes in here. Where humanity was so advanced that they basically they were just about ready to become a Q entity almost. And what happens here is that the artificial intelligence that they created to basically pamper their asses while they basked in their own omnipotence turned on them and began to wipe out every single human being in the universe. Okay, it just spread like a virus throughout existence, forcing humanity to escape in things that look like the moon. These ships that look like moons. They put what's left of humanity in these things. They send them out into different areas of the universe to survive, and this thing just keeps chasing them down, finding them, and kills them. And the moon is actually one of those vessels that left a long time ago, and what it does, it had the power to create the Earth. So when it got to a point in space where they figured this would be a good spot here to make the Earth, they basically made the moon create the Earth, and the Earth, which kind of why it would answer like some questions like why is the Earth in such a perfect position from the sun, where humans can survive, and that's how they answer that, because it was actually ancient humans who picked that spot, because they knew that would be the best spot to build a Earth rather. So they hid there, and they seeded the Earth with life to start again. But somehow that damn thing found the moon, and it was trying to break into the moon to get, to destroy it. And when we landed on the moon back in '69, we kind of unzipped our flight, say, hey, here we are, and now it's like, okay, so now this thing wants to destroy the Earth, okay? So so you see what I'm saying? There's a lot of story here that goes on in this movie, which you got to pay attention to pick up all the nuances here of what this movie is going through here. And so, we fast forward to now. We're like, well, we have to save the moon, because the moon has all the knowledge of ancient humans, all the technology that they created, which we don't have, and they have to save the Earth by saving the moon, because all they got to do is pull the moon away from the Earth, and the Earth will settle down, and things will, quit destroying itself. Okay, pretty much the surface of the Earth gets ruined in this movie anyway. So, but in order to save it, they had to get the moon out of the way. So that's essentially what they had to do was lure the evil AI, okay, out in a spot where they could detonate some kind of a weapon, not a nuclear weapon, but something that was created for them to take out there to destroy this artificial intelligence with. But they had to sacrifice one of the humans because it's bait. This thing is attracted not only to power, but it's attracted to biological life. So the mixture of the two gets its attention. So that's what they had to leave somebody behind with the bomb and wait till this thing got close enough, and then press the button and end the story. So they do that. The moon finally gets control of itself and is able to reposition back where it should be, and everything is settled on Earth. But like I said, that doesn't really end the story, because the way the movie ends, it's sort of like opening a door to maybe a sequel to follow up that story with. So yeah, it's kind of it's like 2 hours and 10 minutes, and it sounds like it would be a long movie by the way I described it, but it actually plays out quite well. You just can't get up from this movie and go use the bathroom for like any length of time, because you're going to miss some details. So if you're going to watch this, I would suggest you watch it at home and put it on pause. If you have to get up and do something, like get a drink of water or some damn thing, because you don't want to miss any dialogue. It's really important that you pay attention to this thing, okay? Because if they really wanted to drag this thing out, they could make this a 4-hour movie with all the data they jam into it. But it's still, they do it in an entertaining and lighthearted way, so they don't bog you down with too much technobabble, science fiction wise, okay? They don't bog you down with that, and they do a pretty good job, I guess, of making it easy to understand. But you're going to want to know why people are doing certain things in the film, so you don't want to miss out how the plot is changing as the movie goes. Halle Berry is in it, and she does pretty good in the movie. And you know, it's just you know, like I said, it's a fun movie. You know, I would say it's a family movie, really. I mean, there's not a whole lot of, you know, nastiness going on or anything like that. And I think, you know, young teenagers could probably watch that and everything. So, you know, if you're a person that really likes to pick and choose the kind of movies, you know, this one wouldn't be too bad as movies go here. Let's see what this damn thing here is. So, yeah, 12 would go. Oh boy. Oh, I see. Okay, so it goes. Used to like a DC. Okay, so cut that. So I would recommend, if you haven't seen it, and if you like science fiction, that you should go and get this movie and watch it. It's not bad. It's fun. Lots of great visuals. You know, an interesting story. Even though you might have seen other shows have elements of it. So they kind of borrowed from a lot of different things to make it, and that's okay. You know, I'll tell you something right now. It's very, very hard to write a science fiction story that hasn't already been thought of, okay? I think you understand that. It really is difficult. I mean, because the thing is that what we know about science fiction, about space, about science, we're all at the same level, okay? So our imaginations come to a wall at some point where we can't seem to imagine anything beyond that. But in order for the story we create in our minds to be entertaining and understandable, we can't actually allow ourselves to get too close to the wall because people will just get confused and not be able to understand the story. And that's happened, you know, in science fiction stuff before, like The Matrix, okay? The first Matrix was easy to kind of pick together and understand. It's the next two films is what gets people muddied up, okay? That's what confuses a lot of people, and why a lot of people figure that, you know, they really didn't need to make the following two movies, the Matrix films, okay? You know, so, you know, they figure that was just too complicated. They complicated the story. That's what they did, okay? Because they had a lot of this computer AI versus humanity, which is played out in this movie as well, Moonfall, okay? Because it's a natural machine versus man is a like Batman and the Joker, okay? They're like opposites of each other. That makes a perfect enemy to humanity is the machine, which is used a lot in science fiction, okay? You know, like Terminator. I mean, we use that theme a lot, and it's used in this movie as well, okay? And so, you know, I guess it comes from a time where humanity was, you know, back in the 70s and 80s when technology was starting to become part of our lives, and it started to worry folks as to how far are we going to take this. And so a lot of imagination was used, I was going to say wasted, but used in trying to predict how things would be if we just let it run amok. And so we created a whole new realm of science fiction with that. But I think we kind of beat that to death, don't you think? I mean, because we, you know, from all the science fiction from like the late 70s on, that theme about man versus machine has become such a dominant thing in science fiction, okay? Even Star Trek has beat that to death with the Borg and all that crap. Okay, it's just something now that I think it's like, okay, we've done this now. Let's put that on something else, and let's try something else now, okay? Let's imagine something else, okay? Man versus machine is always going to be there as a science fiction slice, okay? But why don't we think of something else, okay? I think what we're coming into now these days is science fiction of man versus his environment, okay? Because of today's worry about how we're treating our planet. And I think our science fiction now is starting to go into the realm of our environment of the world that we live in. That's why you have so many dystopian kind of movies filmed, because they want to show you can't really tell that kind of a story without showing a world in peril and how humanity has to survive in it. Okay, which makes a lot of people upset that they figure we're dwelling too much on negativity when we do films like that. And my thought is like, well, it's just another way of talking about humanity versus machine. Now we have humanity versus its planet, okay? And now that's going to be the source for a lot of science fiction material, which is kind of what we've been doing here, right? Even the zombie genre, which they've beaten to death with an iron bar, is part of that humanity versus environment, okay? Where virus gets out of control and turns people into zombies, okay? We've got the pandemic to back that up. There's a reason why we would think these things, right? So again, that's the new facet of science fiction today. But we still see these old facets of man versus machine coming up, and they inject ecological damage in the crossfire to kind of introduce that in there with it. Okay, which is what they also do in Moonfall, is you see how the moon getting closer to the Earth is actually wrecking the planet and everything. So that's kind of addressing man versus its environment. Okay, but at the end you find out it's really not about that. It's about man fighting its technology, okay, or ancient technology that man once created that nearly wiped it out. Okay, sort of like I said, Battlestar Galactica, where mankind created the Cylons, and the Cylons turned on them, and they had this forever war that went on until they wiped out, humanity. So again, it's a derivative of many different things, and we see how that's kind of evolved over time, science fiction, into this kind of reality that we live in. So you'll see a lot of the science fiction of the the early 20th century or 21st century becoming that, in the future of the Earth's environment, okay? Which is one reason why the second Blade Runner movie was made, because they figured it was the time to do it, because the first one showed a future Earth where the environment was shit, okay? And I don't think it really registered with people back then just how bad things could get. But here we are, and they did this, the second one, which they opened up I think it was in the same year that they set the first movie at, and they released the second part of that Blade Runner film, and showed more of the chaos of the planet, having winter over here and a storm over here and a massive heat over here, where the planet is just completely out of whack. I mean, nothing makes any sense. The Earth is like really gone, basically. And so we have the Earth, the man versus the environment, on twice the scale as before. So again, it's like I said, this is the time for science fiction to be talking about all these things, because that's on everybody's mind. Just like in the 80s, it was technology that was on everybody's mind, about humanity getting too infatuated with its own intellectual, mechanical, strengths, and what would happen if we just go too far with it. So, all right, so let's take a break here.
Ruthless invaders, a defenseless planet. Battle beyond the stars. A lone youth escapes on a last-ditch mission that begins at the edge of the universe. story of a boy who finds more than he expected. And all he can handle.
Does your species have kissing?
Oh, yes. We have that.
Try one. That's a hot dog. It comes from Earth. Do you like it?
There's no dog in this. Soybean meal, niacin, dextrose, and sodium nitrate flavoring. That's what we call meat back home.
Battle Beyond the Stars. Starring Richard Thomas, George Papard, Robert Vaughn, John Saxon, a battle beyond time, beyond space.
Nice and fire!
That ends in a desperate gamble.
They'll be able to board us.
It won't make any difference.
Get that hatch open!
Battle Beyond the Stars.
Once upon a time, in a place called Mzansi, the people loved driving cars everywhere. They used lots and lots of electricity and chopped down many trees for firewood. And then a very strange thing happened. The weather began to change. In some places there were droughts where before there was rain. In other places, the rivers flooded. The grown-ups realized they were contributing to the strange weather. They discovered if they used clean energy and less electricity, they could save Mzansi for their children.
What happened then?
How the story unfolds is up to each and every one of us. Switch off, recycle, change. Help save tomorrow.
Oj, kolla här. Kolla här.
Det var sådär en lavin eller?
Ja, den är kontrollerad. Alltså, det är såna jäkla krafter.
Är det safe?
Ja. De vet vad de gör.
Pappa!
Ja, det är ingen fara.
Den är kontrollerad.
Harry, det är lugnt. Harry!
Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it. Write for Pollution Booklet, Box 1771, Radio City Station, New York.
the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it. It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
Okay, everybody, welcome back. So, the other thing I want to discuss is I was going through YouTube and I ran across a video that was made recently about a possible upcoming Star Trek movie that's based on characters from TNG possibly being recast by different actors. Okay. And my first reaction was it's probably just rumor. And the guy did the video and cited a source that is just basically another source that deals with rumor. Okay, so anyway, it's up there on YouTube, and it seems to be like the only one that's even talking about this. So my second thought was, well, if this is really going on, if this information got out, it would be all over the fucking Star Trek universe, basically, on the internet. But I haven't heard anybody talk about it, and so I don't think there's anything to it. I think it's just rumor. And the last thing I heard about any Star Trek movie, okay, people were still talking about, you know, the Kelvin timeline movie, if they were going to do a number 4 out of that or not. And it doesn't seem like, you know, the longer it takes them to even answer that, the less likely there's going to be. Because all the actors from the Star Trek Kelvin timeline are all busy with their own projects, so it's probably going to be very difficult to pull them from whatever the hell they're doing to get them to act in another Star Trek film. Plus, the salaries are going to have to come up because these people aren't really unknowns anymore. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, well, okay, you know, you basically you waited what? It's been 4 years since the last film came out, I guess, roughly about 3 or 4. And these people have all moved on, okay? And since that last Star Trek film really didn't bring in the fucking money they thought it would, I think everybody was kind of resigned to the fact that there wasn't going to be any more Star Trek movies based on the Kelvin timeline, okay? So, I guess that probably sparked some people to fantasize or even think about possibly them doing a next generation Kelvin timeline Star Trek, whatever, okay? Whatever you want to call it. My third reaction to when I heard that was, what makes them think that anybody's really interested in seeing any more TNG Star Trek? Because when they did Star Trek Picard, seasons 1, 2, and upcoming 3, so far it hasn't really hit many home plates here. You know what I'm saying? There's been very lukewarm reaction to the Picard series, and so, you know, if there's any interest at all in this TNG thing, you know, they certainly wouldn't be getting that from the response they're getting from the TV show they've been doing on Paramount Plus, right? So where are they getting this idea that audiences are interested in that? Okay. However, I do understand that there's a growing interest in seeing a Deep Space Nine movie, or at least a TV series to pick up, you know, on that. So, you know, if they're not going to do a TNG movie, which I don't think they're going to, but if they don't do that, my guess is they'll probably try for a Deep Space Nine follow-up movie or something like that, or a TV show. That might be the next thing on the lot, you know. Again, it's just my theory as to where they might go with this thing, because, like I said, they've already done Next Generation on TV. Okay, what are they going to do with a reboot TNG? On the big screen that they, I mean, they, I don't see how that's going to be of any interest to people, especially when they're introduced to new actors playing these characters that they've loved for so many years. It's not, they think that they were successful in recasting the original series cast, you know what I'm saying, with Chris Pine, and, the problem with that was the stories is what fucked them over, because they had, these people were acting in a movie that was based largely on just action, okay, and very little emphasis on story, which is something Trek fans are used to having. More story, a little less action. But they went the other way with the Kelvin story timeline, and it just, plus it was very confusing in some places, and it just didn't seem to reflect Star Trek as it should be. If they intend to do the same thing with the Next Generation, I don't see that that's going to be any better than the 4 Star Trek Next Generations they did with the original TNG cast. Okay, I don't see how that's going to be any different than that. So my guess is that they maybe, after this 3rd season of Picard is over, that should be it for the TNG actors. That's it. Okay, it should have been that's it when Nemesis was done, but they decided to beat that horse again. So they went ahead and did it, and now it's about, let's see how much money we can suck out of this genre here, basically, how we can get more money out of those characters, just like they did with Kirk, Spock, and Bones when they recast them for another 3 movies. But I think what fans are really talking more about these days is they would like to see Deep Space Nine brought to the big screen instead. So they might shift gears. If anything that I heard in that video was true about a possible TNG movie, if they're thinking of going down that road, I would suggest not. Okay, and go to the big screen with Deep Space Nine instead of doing a serialized Deep Space Nine on Paramount Plus. Just do a movie of Deep Space Nine, see how that goes, okay? And you might be able to get a few movies out of that if they do it right. Especially, if they can bring back some of the people who worked on that show, which are still around. They could probably, continue the story from where they left off back in, before Voyager started up. But you know what I'm saying? They can really pick up the ball, as it were, and tell the story. Like I said, a lot of some of the original actors are still around. I'm sure they could come back into this thing, and a lot of the writers and was Ira Stephen Beyer, he's still around. I mean, so he can come back and work on this thing, right? So why don't they just go that way with it and just leave TNG alone, okay? Because they've done enough with that. They've basically ruined it as far as they can ruin it. I don't know about this 3rd season, but my hopes aren't that high. I've learned my lesson, okay, not to expect the best out of Paramount when it comes to Star Trek these days, because all the working horses who worked on that show for years and made it what it was, they ain't there anymore, okay? It's all different people now, so you can't expect the best anymore out of this show. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get back to working on this model here, and I hope if everybody understands where I'm coming from here with the Star Trek stuff here, because like I said, when you get online and I see these videos and stuff like that people post, and they claim that they've heard from unnamed sources that this and that. You always got to take that with a grain of salt, because you just don't know these people have to run a web page and they have to keep getting viewers to watch, and for some of these people that means money. So when you got that involved, you don't know what you're getting. So anyway, hope everybody has a great rest of the week, and please keep your ears open to local COVID-19 news and monkeypox, and I will talk to you all again later. So be well, everybody. Take care.